Broadcasting from the center of the universe in Stony Creek, Ontario, Canada. This is the Renovating Life Podcast. With your hosts, Steve Kopac and Dan Carrol. And producer, Greg Hnatyshyn. Follow along on their journey to become real estate entrepreneurs and interview guests that will inspire you to take action in your life. Brought to you by Battlefield Real Estate Investments. Invest in real estate. Invest with Battlefield Real Estate Investments.
And here we go, folks. Welcome to the show, Renovating Life Podcast. My name is Dan Carrol. With me to my left, the bald and beautiful one. He is the producer, Greg Hnatyshyn. Some say he is the man amongst men. Right across from me, my good friend and business partner, Steve Kopac. How you doing, buddy?
Not bad.
I'm excited to have my friend.
Good.
I'm happy that I can call him a friend, Luca Filice. Thanks for coming into the show, bud.
Thanks for having me.
Luca, general manager of PCM. What does PCM stand for?
Project and Construction Management.
So you may or may not be familiar with PCM, but you've definitely heard of Princess Margaret Lottery. And for what, about the last 11 or 12 years, you guys have been...
We're going on to home number 15.
Home number 15,
so 15
okay.
years.
15 years of producing the grand prize for the Princess Margaret Lottery.
Fall Lottery.
Lottery. So we're actually recording this episode just the day before the giveaway.
Correct, yeah.
Right? Where's this? This was in Oakville.
Yeah, it's in Oakville, 1534 Oak Hill Drive.
Right.
Kind of considered southeast Oakville. Mm-hmm. Beautiful neighborhood, and
right.
It's pretty typical of the neighborhood where we do these homes every year.
Yeah. Okay. And I mean, this was the first time, actually, thanks to COVID, that this home wasn't actually open to the public.
Correct.
I was very fortunate that I got to do a bit of a walkthrough and see some of the work. And these homes are impressive, to say the least. But I mean, the people that you have working on these projects too, I mean, they're just masters of their craft.
Yeah, we really pride ourselves on the PCM team.
Yeah.
So we have the same trades. The company's 22 years old. Mm-hmm. We've had the same trades for pretty much that entire time.
Right.
So we don't flip-flop trades. We use the same guys over and over again. They know the way we work. They know the procedures. They know how we think. And that's the real secret to getting these homes done.
Right.
At the level of quality and also in the speed that we build, because we do build those houses in around 5-6 months.
Right. And when you say these houses, these aren't cookie cutter, 2,000, 3,000 square foot homes. You're talking like 7,000, 10,000 and up.
Correct. Yeah. So lottery homes is, what people know us for, but we do private client homes that are much, much larger than these lottery homes, and we build those fast as well.
Right.
And we don't compromise on the quality. We do so much preparation and planning that we really, we work out all the kinks before we even put a shovel in the ground.
Right.
That way, once construction really almost becomes the easy part.
Right.
The planning is the hard part.
Right.
So footings to finish, 5 months.
On a, call it a 4,000 to 6,000 square foot home.
Yeah.
Footings to finish 5-6 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy, right? And I mean,
that's unbelievable.
Construction. That's the construction time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's crazy. And planning, right? That's construction time. How much time actually goes into the planning?
Sometimes over a year.
Right.
It depends on the client, the situation, whether they have land, if they have a property that's, subject to conservation or any weird, municipal constraints.
Sure.
Those things, we can't control the timing of some of those approvals.
Right.
But once we have the permit, we're ready to go, and we create a very detailed schedule.
Yeah.
You can come to our job sites, you'll see a schedule posted on every site.
Yeah. And
that becomes religion to us.
Right. Actually, you mentioned the schedule, and this is one of the things, I don't know if it's just the nerd inside of me, but the schedule, when you guys are mapping out the plan right now, there's an accountability to all the trades that are on there, right?
That's correct.
So it's visual. You can see it at the project, and people are signing off on this,
Yeah,
right?
so every job, we have a pre-construction meeting. Mm-hmm. So once all the decisions have been made. Everything's the finishes have been selected. We have interior design plans. We have obviously architectural, structural plans. We have a meeting. We usually go to Seasons Restaurant in Oakville. We'll have all the trades and the client. So the very first thing the trades do, they come in, the schedule's there, and they come and they take a look at their line item and they sign. So they commit to.
They're committing to that timeline.
Yeah.
too.
If I give my painter 4 weeks or 6 weeks, he's committing to doing it in 6 weeks.
Right. Yeah.
So we, and the guys are used to that. And there's discussion beforehand. Like, I don't just come up with a scope of work and tell a guy you have 2 weeks to do something that's going to take him 2 months. It's not like that. It's open dialogue, but because we plan it, we can set those targets, and that's the whole success of our company.
Right, because you're building in Oakville a lot, right?
Oakville and Mississauga. We'll build anywhere in the GTA.
Sure.
But I guess through our marketing, we're really well known in Oakville, and the genesis of the business was in Mississauga. So we've built a lot of homes in Mississauga.
What I'm getting at is the one project. So I was fortunate enough. Luca actually took me around to a few of the projects, including the lottery home. But there was another project going on right next door, that one on the lake.
Correct.
Right. And how long have they been at it?
They started well before us, and they're just finishing now. And our home was far more complicated.
Right.
We can show you some pictures, but there was about 3 or 4 months of work just to build the retaining walls.
Right.
Before we got to the actual house.
You got to
so
see this
it
place,
was.
Yeah.
You're basically starting at the water and working your way up a hill till you get to the building envelope spot, and then you start the house. So we started the. This is a very complicated modern home. So this is not like a 4 or 5 month job, but a typical Oakville GTA builder, they're probably going to take 2 years to build this house.
Yeah.
We'll be out of there in 1 year.
Right.
So these are very respectable timelines. We have really good clients, first of all, and then we do so much planning. So we try to keep everything buttoned down.
A lot of manpower too involved there. Like, your electrician's not just coming with 2 guys; he's coming with a crew of people to get it roughed in.
Correct.
Like, he's probably in and out in 2-3 days. If he's got a big enough crew.
He's not. It's not 2 or 3 days, but he's got probably periods where there's 4 or 5 guys there.
Yeah.
And the pot lights in a house like that are so complicated. They're actually trimless, so they have to be put in, drywaller, cut it, then a little plastic piece recessed down, and then the taper has to come back and tape it. So just imagine a house with 400 or 500 pot lights where you have to go and tape around every single one.
And
so
it has to be perfect.
Exactly. You cannot, and you start, when you go in this house, even now, if I brought you there right now, you'd see string lines on some of the air returns, because everything is so linear and has to be perfect, right? There's a lot of planning. Houses like that, that's more like a luxury hotel, that home, than it is something that you just put together in a subdivision.
Right. And I mean, being in a neighborhood like that, there's I wouldn't say an abundance of luxury home builders, but there's enough, and there's enough people out there with money that got to take notice when they see this project going up, and then all of a sudden, boom, another one just pops up, and then this one isn't finished next door, right? Is that how you're getting some of your clients when they see something like that?
That particular street that we're building on, it's actually the 3rd person that's lived on that street that's hired us to do a home. So 2 previous residents that moved to another very established street in Oakville.
Right.
We built their home, and then this gentleman, husband and wife that own this property, they're friends with those people, and they had such a good experience that they came to us without even talking to anybody else. So
wow, that's impressive.
Mm-hmm.
We got to get Steve out there. You got to see some of this stuff, man. I'm telling you, it's like it's mind blowing. That retaining wall itself. I mean, there's a pool recessed in there too. I mean, the amount of concrete in that pool itself is more than my entire house.
Like, so I work as an automation electrician at Taylor Steel. So I've watched them install a bunch of machinery from footing to finish. and just the planning that goes in. The planning takes longer for one of those machines than the actual install.
Absolutely.
And now there's laser lines, and like you said, there's piano wire everywhere. Every bolt's got to line up. So when they lift the machine and put it down, it's perfect, right?
Absolutely.
It's just like your pot lights. I didn't even know they made pot lights like that.
Those things come from Europe.
Yeah.
So we've dealt with some delays with COVID, getting things in.
Sure.
So we are dealing this year with some challenges that
that you couldn't plan for, really.
Can't plan, but overall, from start to finish, we're still hands down much faster than a lot of the competition in our area, for sure.
Explain to me the term superstructure.
Yeah.
Right, because you guys don't build the minimum code,
No.
obviously, right? You guys are overbuilding.
Yeah, part of the way our contract is with clients is that we are building, we call it the superstructure for them.
Yeah.
So sometimes clients come to us, they already have an architect, they already have a set of plans. Sometimes they come to us with nothing. So if they do have plans, any structural component of that, it gets torn up and gets thrown in the garbage.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
I
we're
didn't
only
realize
looking.
people came to you with plans.
Sometimes they do.
Okay.
It does happen, and it's fine. It's we're building what the client wants.
Sure.
These are not our designs. So we work with some of the best architects in North America.
Right.
But a lot of times, if the client does come to us and have a drawing set that's complete,
Right.
the structural part, it's gone. So we'll ask the architect to pull it out. We have part of our contract is we have our own structural engineer.
Yeah.
He basically goes from the top of the house down, so because transferring weight, and he over designs the structure. We don't build anything to minimum building code.
Yeah.
Right.
So typically, we have. I can show you pictures of, our footings are massive. We have pads everywhere underneath the actual concrete slab that's holding point loads.
Yeah.
We use a ton of rebar in our foundations. We incorporate a lot of steel beams when we need to. Sometimes we can do a house with all wood beams to try to help the schedule, because steel complicates things.
Yeah.
Sometimes we can get away with huge spans with wood. It's
really?
just
Okay.
it depends on the design and what
where
my engineer can come up with.
Where your loads gets transferred to.
Yeah.
You're not going to have a lot of bouncy floors.
Never. That's a sin.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'll never, even if you come even into a lottery home where there's years where there's tens of thousands of people that walk through that house, you will never have a room with a bouncy floor.
Yeah.
Never.
You'll never have that china rattling. Like every time I walk past my wife's like a little makeup table with all of her perfume and stuff, I'm like, I got to lose weight. Every time I just rattling.
Yeah, you'll never. If you come into one of my homes, that will never happen.
And like houses used to be built like that.
Yeah.
Like this house that we're in now was built in the 50s. And Dan remembers how hard it was to take some of the old shit out. Like it was next to impossible. And then it's almost like building lost its way, and now everything is like a bare minimum.
Yeah.
And even to me, the bare minimum is not safe. Like, I would rather either buy an old home or get one custom built by someone like you that's going to over-engineer something.
Right.
Yeah. Most homes are designed to Part 9 building code, minimum building code.
Yeah.
So that's the minimum standard. Nobody realizes that. Oh, make sure it's to code. But code is the minimum, the minimum standard. So we want to, these are very high-end homes. We want to make sure that people get what they pay for.
And
the last thing you want is some client to come in to a multi-million-dollar home and the floor's bouncing.
Yeah.
But it also, like, our homes have much less instance of settling. So, like, the drywall cracks, the nail pops. When you go, even I can take you to Princess Margaret Lottery home. I mean, that home's been sitting now empty. That's usually when you get a lot of cracks showing up. There's next to nothing.
Yeah.
On top of that, so we're building this overbuilt structure. We don't just provide the minimum Tarion warranty. We have to provide Tarion by law.
Yeah.
So we're not illegal builders, but we give a full 5-year warranty on our client homes.
Right.
So that's
full 5 year.
5 year
cosmetic too, like yeah.
Yes, 5 year from the top of the roof to the bottom of the footing.
Wow.
So we're basically like a concierge for the client for 5 years.
So it's not just building and planning and everything, it's service.
Yeah, we stand by the product. So it's a very small team at PCM. There's only myself and my business partner, Carlos. We have a site super, and we have basically a warranty manager.
Yeah.
So she's involved right at the final stages of the home when you're doing your punch lists and just following up on a lot of little small items.
Yeah.
And then she's taking care of every phone call, every warranty item for 5 years. And she's paid, like we pay her to do that. That is her role. So when the emails come into us, hey, something's acting up over here, we take care of it. And I mean right away. Like I'll have a mechanical contractor and electrician dispatched within minutes.
I believe it. I know how you work. Like you're posting, on weekends all the time, right?
Oh, yeah.
Just getting your hustle on. And one of the things that's great about Luca too, and I mean, in the second half of the show, I want to get into more you and how you got here and, trying to help motivate people to get take action. But I really kind of want to get a foundation of like what you're doing right now up here. One of the things I was really impressed with when you showed me that one house was the foundation. You've got the exterior weeping system and an interior weeping system, right? So in case something were to happen, which is likely not, you've got a backup system. So it's all preventative measures.
We have many levels of backup. Foundation wall on the outside. We don't just do damp proofing. We do a full rubber wall, spray and wrap.
That stuff's awesome.
It is.
My brother used it. He's renovating his house he just bought, which had a leaky basement. And a good buddy of ours that does the waterproofing came in, excavated, and I watched them spray the rubber on. This guy was spraying a 1/4 inch of rubber on the outside of the house, then putting the dimple plastic on. Then he put 3 feet of stone in. And I think, honestly, what was left over was maybe about 2 feet of dirt that went in.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, like, this guy did it right.
When you do it properly like that, the water's going to drain away. Yeah. But just in case something happens, we do the interior weepers. If a house is supposed to have one sump pump, ours has 3 or 4. We have probably 2 or 3 layers of backup pumping in that system, including mechanical pumps that run on water pressure that create a vacuum. So we have those in there. So, and then we also do one final 3-foot interior wrap with a barrier that goes over top of the footing. So if everything failed and you did have some minute crack that some water came in, it would just channel its way down and go over the footing and into the weeper. So some of these basements that we're doing, there's probably $1 million worth of finishes in a basement.
Yeah.
You do not want to be in there after a year ripping that out.
No.
Like it. So, and that's all that stuff is part of my cost.
Yeah.
Like it's part of the budget for that superstructure. So we want to overbuild that. So we cut no corners on that stuff. And we document all this stuff too. So everything that we promise the client, they have a iPhoto gallery every day. It's just a constant influx of pics from either myself or site super or anybody involved in the company. Sometimes my trades have access. So when they do something, they post it on there. So the client could be traveling around the world and they know, okay, I could see today, they poured my footings or they're framing, they're plywooding the roof. They know exactly.
It's like Mike Holmes' wet dream.
I know. The perfect
Have you ever
house.
just walked in and just like, oh, I got nothing?
I got nothing, yeah. No, he's Mike. He'll find something.
I know, right? And I lost my train of thought earlier. One of the things that I like particularly with respect to your service and you specifically is that you're not just pushing papers. You're getting out there too. Like this guy operates an excavator himself, and even like clients, right, have showed up. Like, what are you doing, right? This guy shows up in an SL 550, and it's like, hold on, hold my beer.
I got to interrupt Dan here. Dan's always giving me shit because I'm doing too much at our projects. And now you're like patting this guy on the back because he does shit at his projects.
I don't recommend that, and it's not something
Thank you.
that I do.
Thank you.
Like, I'm not going to go dig the house, but every once in a while, like,
you want to get in the house.
Every once in a while, you're waiting for an inspector for a backfill. My excavating contract, for example, he's not going to have an employee sitting around there. So I pass the inspection and I have a key to the machine, I'm not going to lose a half day.
Right.
I'll go there, and if I'm done what I need to do for that day,
Yeah.
I hop in the machine and I start backfilling.
Oh,
Like,
nice.
There you go.
You
You,
know-
have your priorities. You have
Okay.
your jobs
Yeah.
first.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I do not like I'm not on the tools guy.
There you go.
I do know how to operate.
You're not hanging drywall.
No,
No, I'm not. Never
but
doing
you know
that
what? There's times like I'm really involved in the beginning stages of the home. So
keep going,
I'll be involved in the excavation, the foundation, the framing, where I'm there a lot. And you know, if I need to go move a water pump or something like
Yeah.
that, you know,
Yeah.
I have a set of rubber boots in the car,
Right on.
and I go in. There's really, we're a small business still, so there's really nothing above or beneath me.
Sure.
I have to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
leave.
Gotta
I'm
get
not
the
going to
job
let something hang.
Yep.
Just
No,
because
but
it's
but I
beneath
like
me.
that. It gives you a bit of humanity, you know. Like 'cause
Absolutely.
I really like that. I like your attitude about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. Actually, we're going to take a quick break here in a second, but when we come back, I want to get into a little more about you and your background and, you know, how you got into building luxury homes. But in my research, I'm not going to lie, I did contact your wife, Angela, to try to learn some more stuff about you. And the only thing that she came up with, speaking of excavators, is your obsession with John Deere excavators.
Oh yeah, I love tractors. I have a problem. Like it's something. It's a disease that's in me from when I was a kid,
Okay.
and
Right.
like I can't give it up. Right.
Yeah.
So when I see machines, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, man. Sometimes I feel like I'm in the wrong business. Like, but there, I don't know. I don't think an excavating contractor's.
Right.
I don't know if the margins are what.
And I know you're a total entrepreneur, and I want to get into like building businesses and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So why don't we take a quick break, and we'll talk about Luca, you know, coming up through the ranks in the investment industry and taking a big leap to get into the you start with a layer and then
Yeah,
and
sure.
then into PCM. So we'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back after this.
Hi, this is Carrol the Monster Nelson, and the only underwear tough enough for me is sheath underwear.
And now, back to the Renovating Life podcast.
Welcome back, folks. Luca Filice, PCM, in the studio. We spent the first half just talking about, you know, your company and Princess Margaret Homes and building luxury homes, but you didn't start there.
No.
I think you and I actually, I went to your wedding, and I think we probably met at a wedding, right? Because our wives work together.
I went to your wedding too.
That's right. Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. So we kind of met that way because our wives work together. They're nurses.
Yep.
Right. And I remember you had a big wedding. You had a much bigger wedding than I did. What was it? 400 people?
No, not for maybe just pushing 300.
300. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
We're-
big for me.
we're
For
both-
Steve, that's nothing.
Yeah.
We're both Italian, so
Right.
No, I'm Serbian. I know. I feel your pain, but
Right.
yeah, it's the whole European.
absolutely.
That's how Europeans start lives out, like a young couple's life. So you invite 400 people. All 400 people give a lot of money. You end up making a lot of money at the wedding.
And then you lose
But-
all their numbers and keep the money.
But
Oh,
those 400 people now invite you to
Right,
their wedding,
exactly.
So
You
you've got
just
to pay it
recycle
all
it.
back.
Oh,
so
it's
it's
crazy.
like it's a
it's
big,
like giving gift cards at Christmas.
yeah, it is.
Makes no sense.
Yeah.
But I remember one thing that you met. This is the one thing, of course, you could tell where my mindset was at the time was you had talked about that you had gotten a job with Goldman Sachs.
Yeah. Yeah.
How long were
So,
you with Goldman in the investment industry?
A long time. Maybe I'll start off when I was young, right? So my family's I have immigrant parents. Obviously, both my parents are born in Italy.
Yeah.
They came here. They worked really hard. So I kind of grew up around construction a lot.
Right.
I worked for painting contractors as a kid, like from when I was 12 years old. Yeah, and then in high school I worked for actually industrial electricians. I was a laborer, but I
Okay.
was around guys doing putting together assembly lines.
Oh, okay.
So I was always and I actually really enjoyed it. So I was around construction. My dad had built our own house, my uncle's house. So I'd actually, and I was like all over watching like the procedure on how to build a house,
Right.
even from like when I was 9-10 years old.
You've been immersed in it.
Yeah,
most
and
of your
I
life.
always really loved it. But my parents were, the vision of an immigrant parent is for your kids to go to school.
Right.
So school's number one.
Yeah.
So I was pretty studious kid, did well in school.
Yep.
Went to university. I went to Western.
Right.
And
Got your
then-
BA in economics.
Yeah, I went to Western. I took economics.
You got some awards too, right?
Yeah,
Robert
won some
Siskin,
awards.
Entrepreneurship Award.
Yeah, so I won at the Ivy School of Business. They do a business case competition where you kind of do a startup at the time, and at my group actually we won, so it was great. So
Nice.
so I've always
Right. That pales
Like-
in comparison to my citizenship award that I won at grade 8. So
Yeah.
you've always been driven.
yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I wrote papers in economics program that got published.
Yep.
Like you can go online and look and find those now. So like
It was something about what was it? I saw something going back to the gold standard.
Yeah,
It wasn't
so I
actually
did
a
stuff-
good move.
yeah, that was
You
my
hear that a lot, actually.
that was
People
my view at the time. Maybe my view now is different, but when I was a 20-year-old student studying economics,
Yep.
that was
We know everything in
and
our
and
20s.
that actually got published. So yeah, I worked really hard in school, and I don't think my parents at the time would have wanted me to get into construction. So getting into economics, I
Sure.
wanted to work on Bay Street, Wall Street,
Right.
which I was fortunate enough that I was able to do.
Yeah.
So I ended up working for Goldman Sachs,
Right. And that's no 9 to 5. You're working
no, I
long
worked-
hours.
and I loved that firm. I love the culture.
Yeah.
I love the people that I work with. I worked really hard there. Actually, by the time I was 30, I got promoted to vice president.
Right.
It was amazing, and I always had a little bit of an entrepreneur bug. Like I started buying some rental properties at that time.
Sure.
Had some student rental by McMaster. Had a cottage that I rented out. So that was what I was doing, like on the entrepreneur side.
Right.
But I was really focused when I was working at Goldman Sachs because
Yeah.
I was doing quite well, and then my division got bought out by another company called State Street, which is another big U.S. Merchant bank
Okay.
based out of Boston.
Yeah.
And it's like your heart just sinks because you're working at Goldman Sachs, like the absolute premier
It's the gold
Wall
standard,
Street,
really. Yeah.
gold
Yeah.
standard.
Everybody
firm.
knows Goldman Sachs.
Everybody does. Whether you have a positive or negative opinion of Goldman Sachs from
Right.
everything that you hear in the news,
Sure.
I worked there. I was part of it. I loved it, and I loved everybody that I worked with.
Yep.
So that my division got bought out. I went to State Street, and my mind I started checking out. I'm like, okay, I'm like in my early 30s.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, I want to start my own business. Not really sure what. Always enjoyed construction.
But you knew that you wanted to at least be in control, right?
Yeah, I wanted to be in control, and I knew it was either going to be construction or real estate related, but didn't know when. And I was still progressing in my career. So long story short, I stayed at State Street for, I don't even know if it was 2 years. I basically had a bit of a retention program because we got bought out.
Yeah.
Once that retention program ended, I bailed out of there, but I didn't quit my job yet. I actually went to work for Canada Pension Plan Investment Board,
Right.
which is another, I would say if you're in Canada, that's a premier investment institution to work at.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed, and I worked with really, really smart people. It was actually quite a lot like Goldman Sachs. The way, firm culture and everything.
Really?
Not as like,
What is the culture? You've mentioned a couple times the culture, and I like that. Being a part of Keller Williams real estate is culture's huge.
yeah, I think Goldman is not a place where you just rise up the ranks by seniority. You rise up, it's meritocracy.
Yeah.
You do a good job, you're going to get rewarded.
You get recognized.
You
for
get
your efforts.
recognized. You have many opportunities. There's so many training programs within a huge company like that. You're talking about a company that probably employs 30,000 plus
Yeah.
people. It's a huge, multi-billion-dollar multinational corporation. So
Yeah.
if you really, when you work for places like that, you can take advantage of all kinds of great things. Like at some point, if you progress in your career, you could probably work in different offices. I worked in Cayman Islands office. I traveled almost every month repeatedly to New York, New Jersey.
Nice.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So most of my career was there. See, as I was in CPP, again, I was kind of checking out. Like I was looking for something.
Yeah. You were there just a couple of years, right?
Yeah, and to be honest, that's a great place to.
It's a good job.
Park yourself in.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good job.
It's a great job.
Right. But
if job is what you're looking for.
if job was, So you
And-
reach a point where you're just like, okay, if I'm going to do this,
Yeah.
right? Talk about that, the feelings that you get. Like, because there's a lot of people out there that, are just working their jobs and wanting more, but they're too afraid.
Yeah.
Right. And it's about, how do you handle that fear? And, how do you come to that decision where it's like, okay, I'm sure there's people in your life that have some opinions about this too, right?
Yeah, you really can't listen to what people tell you.
Right.
You're either focused on something. If you're focused on something, everyone's going to tell you that you're making a mistake.
Yeah.
So you just can't listen to what people say.
Sure.
Like
Yep.
it's
I could just imagine his old man. Luca, you so dumb. Don't quit your job. That's right.
yeah. So you
Don't go on your own.
That's exactly that.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
That the old school mentality is to work at a great place,
Yeah.
get a great pension,
Mm-hmm.
but like, why can't you go create your own pension?
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
When you
So-
actually consider, like, even just the average pension of any job that still exists that has a pension, it's really not that much. And when you consider if you get one or two investment properties under your belt, you're covered.
I would agree 100%. So
Right.
and I think through your own research and reading, and you start getting into whatever material you're reading, whether it's real estate related or self-help, something's gonna maybe trigger in your mind that maybe working for somebody's not for me. And I also felt too like I wasn't necessarily, there was always gonna be like, you're not getting the same, I guess, compensation for what you're putting in.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
it's at these firms, it's always good. Like, yeah, you might be one of those guys that becomes a trader that makes millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Those jobs exist,
Yeah.
but they're, it's like making it to the NHL.
Okay.
There's not many of those
Right.
jobs. So then there's like kind of the middle management jobs, which I was doing, which you're probably making a way better salary than probably the next person on your street does.
Yeah.
But it might not, there's always something missing.
Yeah.
Is it the money? I mean, like you said, like you're giving up like an excellent pension and good money. Is it the money, or is it? I mean, you seem like the kind of guy where it's like, I want to be able to at least create this myself.
Yeah,
and do it on
I
my
think
terms.
It's my terms and freedom. Like,
Yeah.
Once you get a taste of the freedom
Right.
of being self-employed, and you create your own schedule, doesn't mean you work any less.
Right.
Probably work way more, but I could never go back to
Having a
9 to
job.
5. It's impossible. Like I wouldn't survive it.
So your first step out was Alaire.
Yeah.
Homes.
So again, I had this thing in my head. And it was more than a thing. I was doing research. I was, making spreadsheets of building homes on spec, building homes, trying to get clients, doing flips, every possible
Like starting
scenario.
a ground floor up kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm trying to map this out, and then I just read about Alaire Homes, which is actually a home building franchise. And one thing about me, I'm not the smartest guy. I'm not very creative. I'm not good at coming up with new ideas. But when I see a formula that works well, and there's a bit of a roadmap, I'm really good at executing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't know exactly every little aspect of building a home. I know I would have had to commit some capital, take some risk, try, maybe make some mistakes.
Yep.
Hopefully you don't make mistakes that you can't dig yourself out of.
Sure.
Then I saw this Alair Homes had this system, which is actually very good, on de-risking a custom home building or renovation business. So I thought, this is great. So it took me a while, and I pulled the trigger, and I really just started going right from the beginning.
Like, did they supply the clients for you? Is that how that worked?
I would say for
it's a name people recognize.
Yeah, and I would say for certain guys, they do. I was never really supplied with like, here's a contract, go. But they definitely helped me to land deals.
Nice.
Because you got to remember, like, I'm a brand new home builder. Like, who the hell is going to take a chance? And I did have, I still don't even know how I did it, but I landed on my first project. I went literally I did a $40,000 or $50,000 basement reno for a young police officer, and I crushed it. And like, I can call her to this day, and she's super happy and would call me and I would help her out with anything. I literally went from that to about a 4,000 square foot custom home, like months away. So I got my Tarion license. I was ready to go. I landed a 4,000 square foot custom home. I lived at that house. Yeah. I was the builder, the site super, the project manager, the janitor, everything. I was there for every waking moment of that house.
There's that service again, right?
Yeah, and they're great clients, and I can send you pics of that house. It's on Poplar Drive in Burlington. Okay. It's a beautiful home. That I would still walk through high-end clients through that house. That's how proud I am of that build.
Your first one.
Yeah, so that really got some momentum going. At the same time, too, I want to try to find best practices. So I started looking at who are really good builders in the GTA. And I actually came across Carlos Giardino, who's my business partner now. Yeah. Came across him. Very similar when I start reading his bio. Very similar background to me. You know, he's an engineer. He's not a guy that has tools in his hands. And I approached him, and he actually started to become a mentor to me.
You just called him up one day.
Literally just called him up. Yeah. And he was receptive to it. And I was literally begging him, like, let me do something with you. Yeah. And at the time, for whatever reason, couldn't make anything work with him. But he started to give me leads. So
while you were still with
while I was with Alair, he started to send me, if it was a custom home that kind of didn't fall into what PCM does. Sure. They were still like $1.5 million custom home build. So for me, I was getting started. I needed those. I don't think you make a lot of money on those, but I was basically a one-man show. Yeah. So I could make it work. I was making a good living doing that. Yeah. So he probably sent me 4 leads, and I closed the deal on 3 of them. So I built in Alair Homes. I probably did, from when I started to when I left Alair, good 40-50 renovations and 4 like complete brand new
footing to finish
custom homes.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, were you able to sell that, or did you just
no? So then I was always in touch with Carlos, and then and then he basically approached me one day and said, okay, enough with that. Why don't you just come and join me? Because I think he has other things that he's interested in too. And you got to remember, his business at that point is about 18 years old. Yeah. Right. He's moving on to doing other big things that take up his time. Yeah. But his custom home business was still a really good business. So, I basically, I was part of a franchise, so it wasn't easy to get out of it. But I did work an agreement with Alair, and I went out and I bought into PCM, and actually now I own half the company. Wow. So it started literally from wanting to have my own business to but those years.
But doing your research, and then like how you just contacted a guy that you saw eye to eye on, at least in how he was running his business. Yeah. Like, how do you get this guy's attention enough to say, I want to do business with this guy? Or you like,
I just told him, like, I'm new custom home builder. This is my background, and
Right.
maybe I don't know what he was thinking, but maybe he was like, oh, it's interesting, because probably other guys that have contacted him before, they might have been a mason or a trim carpenter or somebody that was on the tools and wanted to learn from him.
Yeah.
I wasn't.
You
I
weren't
was.
that.
I was kind of like what he. You know, he's got an MBA. He's an engineer. So it's a really good mentor for me. And I
Right.
wanted. I would honestly. I was probably going down a list of 5-6 people that I wanted to just start to pick their brain and maybe develop like some regular
Like a business
mentorship from them.
relationship,
Business relationship. It wasn't necessarily looking to like go be an employee for somebody,
Right.
but I wanted
You're
somebody.
adding value is what you're doing. You're not just asking the mentor for something. You're saying, listen, like you're helping him expand his business. He, like you said, he's kind of focusing on other things, but he still has a good part of the business, the luxury homes. And listen, let me take that on for you. He's still going to make money. He can focus 100% of his attention
And I
on
started
this one.
off by asking him that, and it was like, no. Then a few years later, he actually approached me and said, okay, it's time to like, let's do something more formal and come on board.
Yeah.
And he also, put your money where your mouth is type of thing too.
I think he was watching you though.
Oh, probably.
Like through the leads he gave you, he was
Yeah.
probably making sure that let's see if this guy knows what he's doing.
I think honestly, some of it at first was just like, okay, I'll pass this lead on to him. Like, I don't care about that lead anymore. Like it doesn't fit the criteria,
Right.
but it did fit mine at the time perfectly. Like, and actually there's a home right now that I built, the second custom home I did. It's for sale. It's in Oakville. Like, I just look at it on MLS. I'm like, man, the pictures are beautiful. Like, I still stand by those clients. Like, I pretty much have been giving them a similar warranty. Like, when they call for something, I just take care of it.
Okay.
So I've always kind of honored that too. So yeah, it worked out good.
Bet.
Interesting.
I wouldn't say it's all luck. Like, I definitely.
Well, you got to work for it.
I
Like,
was pounding the pavement hard.
Let's talk about that work. I mean, even going back to when you were working with Goldman, putting in long hours, you have twins,
Yep.
right? I remember actually going back to another wedding where we were talking back in the day, and you were
Yeah.
just like, holy cow, man. Like,
That's part of the reason too that I wanted to be self-employed, because the path that I was on was a path of working long hours in an office building in Toronto.
and missing a lot of your home life.
I was missing,
Yeah.
and I would have continued to miss. And I saw guys that I worked with, I'm 40 now. At the time, they were 40, 45, and
divorced.
like, not so much divorce, but I mean, you're listening. We're all working at 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. They're calling their kids, saying goodnight to them, like, while they're still in their office. There's got to be a better way.
yeah.
Like, so I thought, at least if you're self-employed, you're probably going to be in a home office. Like, if you have a business investing in real estate or in construction, your office work is high probability you're going to be at home.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, there's got to be a way to still make an above average living and have a little more freedom. So that was a big motivator for me.
Like,
If you're single or maybe just newly married and you're still kind of living a very like self-centered life where you're independent and you don't have to worry about bath time, like you said, or so I was missing out.
Yeah.
So that was a big factor for me.
Like a lot of people bug me still all the time. I used to work straight days at work, and then a shift job came up, so I work like a 12-hour rotator, right? People are like, oh, why would you do that? Why would you do that? It's because of the freedom.
Yeah.
I'm home a lot. I'm home a lot.
Yeah.
With the amount of vacation that I have, I was off almost all summer.
Yep.
Because I took all my day shifts off, and I got to take my kids to school.
Yeah.
I get to pick them up. Or
nice.
if they're sick, I get to go and pick them up.
Yep.
I started coaching my daughter's basketball team, which people would think, oh, on a 12-hour shift, you have time for that? I'm like, you know what? It gave me more time to do that.
Right.
Because after working 7 to 3 every day, and then it's the making dinner grind, getting people ready for whatever they got to do that night grind, then you're out of energy to do the coaching stuff.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
that's
for sure.
probably
It's a big
best
motivator.
part of the freedom
Yeah.
was to be able to coach my daughter play basketball. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I love it.
And I think maybe as you get into like your mid 30s, I think that mindset starts to change too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Certain things are not as important anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I went
Yeah.
through all that classic stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, I remember telling my HR lady once, I'm like, oh, Canada's got vacation wrong. She's like, what do you mean? Well, I don't think your vacation should go up and continue to go up. I think it should go up quickly, like on a bell curve, and then come back down.
Yeah.
She's like, well, I don't understand. I'm like, well, if it goes up quickly, you got a lot of vacation for your wife and your kids when they're young, but then your kids start moving out, getting married, and then what are you left with? You're left.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many
You're
guys that I
left-
talk to.
Yeah, you're
where
left
they're
with your wife.
I was having a conversation today with one of my customers. He says, I have 4 weeks of vacation that I have to try to fit in.
Yeah.
He has
Yeah.
no idea what to do with it. His kids are growing up.
Well,
He's like,
that thing I was going to
Yeah.
say about the bell curve, like at 55, 60, why do I want to be home alone with my wife all day? I think she's just going to get more annoying with age, right?
Tiny
Windows
drop.
just crashed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to talk about renovations for 1 second. Then
Yeah.
we'll take a quick break. But I mean, you guys aren't doing renovations now,
No.
but you were with Alaire, and I mean, with our business, obviously, Steve hates the term flip, and I like this. We like to call them resto mods because
Yeah.
I've been through a lot of projects, with my real estate license, where I was just through one the other day, and they're just so half-assed. And
That's why I don't like the word flip. To me, the word flip means
Cutting-
half-assed.
cutting
Yeah,
corners.
Cutting
Yeah.
corners.
And when we do a project, the feedback that I get is the quality of it. They always look so good, and we are probably sacrificing a few bucks. But I mean, I also know when I drive past that home that we did a good job, and that family that's living there
Is going to appreciate that.
is going to appreciate the house, and they're not going to feel like they got
Swindled.
taken.
Yeah.
Right.
Like we were talking the other day. I was talking to that other real estate agent that I bumped into. And I told him
At Shamrock.
at Shamrock that me and Dan, the way we renovate them is that we would be able to live there,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if we would be able to live there, it means a lot more people would be able to. Like, I don't know, like some of the shit you showed me down off like Parkdale and Woodward there, like brand new floors, but they didn't take the trim out.
Oh, yeah.
So there's gaps between the floor and the trim. It's like, why?
There's lots of corners cut,
Oh,
and it's pretty sad to see.
I'll give you my take on
Yeah.
renovations.
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. The word renovation to me is a swear word
Okay.
because I stay away from them. And it's not because I'm not saying you can't make money on them.
Mm-hmm.
It's just now, and we get a lot of requests to do renos, and some of them are big jobs.
Right.
But I find myself, I'm not good at creating an accurate schedule and an accurate roadmap for,
with
re-
a renovation?
for renovation.
No, there's no. It's
It's
impossible.
really hard.
Impossible.
So and that's just the way we think now and we operate.
Mm-hmm.
So
Interesting.
I've yet to say yes at PCM
Yeah.
to a renovation, even ones that could be $4 or $5 million. I just don't know how to plan them.
Is it because of the unknowns? Like,
Yeah,
you
the
don't know. You're opening up a wall. You don't know what you're dealing with.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I like one of the things in my preparation is to prepare a very detailed budget,
Yeah.
scopes of work, get everything priced,
Yeah.
and really that budget becomes the guideline for
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. Well.
And then if the client adds anything, I have a formal change order.
Yeah.
I think I just feel with the reno it would be like change order upon change order, and then if I haven't set the expectation to a client, like I'm talking from a commercial standpoint, not from like trying to create value and sell something. For sure, there's opportunity in that too, and that sounds
Yeah.
like that's stuff that you guys do. It's not something I can do myself. I don't. I'd rather put my capital in the business.
Right. And I mean, the business is there, and it gives you full control. And like you said, it's about all the prep and the timing.
Yeah.
And again, you pride yourself on being able to get a project done when you can.
Every time we've gone over budget, it's because we find shit that
Right.
I can't leave.
Always,
I just
yeah.
can't leave it.
Like when I'm building a new house, I know every surprise that's going to come up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's either going to be a delay because of weather, but I know, like, I know when I get my site plan that I have to do a new sewer and water connection. So it's budgeted.
Yeah.
It's not after when I start digging that,
Right.
oh no, there's another 30 G's that I have to
Yeah.
spend to do a road cut. No, I know that from the beginning.
Yeah.
So I budgeted for it, or it's in my client's budget, and I'm done. I think I find with renos, it's one thing after another. For me, anyway.
Yeah.
Well, your trash is another man's treasure, and you know my phone number.
Yeah. Well, that's just like Johnny, our contractor, right?
Yep.
He doesn't want to. He loves doing the renovations, but he doesn't want to deal with homeowners. He
Yes.
wants to deal with guys like me and him that just say,
Yep.
"Here, go." And he calls me, "Oh, I need the tiles. They'll be there tomorrow." Or I need this, I need that, and it's just done, go, 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 go. Whereas he's dealt with a couple homeowners, and they slow him down.
That's a big part of my job. Is first of all, I guard the client, like, from everything. So I don't want trades talking to the client.
Oh, that's
I have
it's the worst.
I have meetings with
Yeah.
them. I tell them, when the client comes here, the only thing you say to them is hello, how you doing, have a good day.
Yep.
They start asking questions, talk to Luca.
Yeah.
Yep.
Especially because some clients are really involved. Like, some of my clients never show up on the job site. They'll show up maybe 2 or 3 times the whole construction,
Couldn't imagine
because
spending that
they're
kind of
wealthy people and they're busy and they have
Yeah.
homes all over the world. Then others, it's their dream home. They're there all the time. I'm building one in Mississauga. He's a fantastic client. He's there a lot.
money. Is this the big one?
Yeah.
How big?
And it's about probably 25,000 square feet. 30, like the footprint of everything. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And he's a dream client, and he's a great guy. He's there a lot. So he's good. He's talking to everybody. See, everyone, it's part of, and I tell the guys too, okay, when the client asks for something, like if he notices, hey, when is, if you're framing in the basement and you missed the doorway,
Yeah.
if he spots it, I tell the guys, like, get that doorway in there right now. And the reason is because I'm going to get a text or a phone call. Hey, I didn't see it happening. Like, it's important to them. It might not be important to the big picture. Like, I know that door is going to get framed in there. But when the guy's repeatedly asking for it,
Yeah.
get it done. So I'm like, I'm ruthless on that stuff.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I don't micromanage my trades, but I protect the client. The clients, without the client, I have no business. So he's my best friend, and that's who I'm there representing.
Yeah,
I'm not going and putting myself on the line
Yeah.
to stick up for a trade, even though the trade that's my family.
Right.
Like, it really is.
Yeah.
It is that
Yeah.
without them, I can't do the job. But at the same time, that client is very important. So
Yeah.
Well, your trades guys got to understand that too.
they
right?
do.
They
My
do,
trade,
yeah.
they're awesome. those are very small examples, but that's the type of stuff that, that's, I guess, the down parts of the business where, you're dealing with those late night phone calls over something that, is not super critical, but it's important
It is
to
to them.
somebody. Yeah.
I get
So
it. Yeah.
I like kind of sometimes what you guys are doing, because you're essentially the client. Like,
Yeah.
you look in the mirror and you're
Yep.
looking at the client.
Yeah.
That's nice. I don't have that because we don't build on spec.
Yeah.
So I don't have that
Yeah.
luxury.
Yeah.
I wish I did. some days,
Maybe
but-
one day. I know the one conversation that we had over Christmas is that you don't think I'm thinking big enough. So I've had that in the back of my mind, and I'm always trying to think, okay, what's the next step? But why don't we take a quick break? We'll come back. We'll do it in the trenches, and then we'll finish off with a couple more questions, and we'll call it a day.
Sweet.
Perfect.
All right, we'll be right back.
And now, back to the Renovating Life podcast.
And we're back. Luca Filice, PCM, in the studio. We've had a busy week.
Very busy week.
Battlefield Real Estate Investments. We've we got an offer on our Shamrock property. We got
Oh,
four
got a couple-
offers.
yeah, 4 offers.
And there was
Out of
a
nowhere.
pretty intense negotiation process there. But why don't we go in the trenches there, Greg? Hit it.
Let's find out what the guys have been up to this week in their real estate adventures. This is In the Trenches.
We kind of made that up on a whim, in the
Oh yeah,
trenches.
absolutely, yeah. Before we get into what we were going to talk about in the
Okay.
trenches, though, I do want to mention this.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Yeah, we did. We got our next project I'm super excited about. So this is funny because we ended up picking up a property in Grimsby and
Across the street.
across the street from a property that we
we bid on.
wanted, that we bid on, and we
Nice.
should have got. So riddle me this, how agents don't fucking understand math.
Oh.
But I went in, we had multiple offers on this property, and I went in with an offer with no commission. So I actually was, $5,000 under?
$5,000 under the winning bid.
The winning bid, but when you factor in my
Yeah.
commission, it actually was worth about $7,000 more. And here's the thing, text message, emails, in the offer, explaining all of that, nothing. So when she tells me what it sold for, I'm like, excuse me, and she calls me, and this is the, I pick up the phone, like, hi, Dan speaking, she goes, I fucked up. That was it. She took her own life right
Yeah.
on the no, but
Wow.
and I could have gone through the process, right? But I mean,
she was genuine about it.
she was
right?
genuine
She
about it.
Apologized.
She
and-
was like, "I'll try to help you guys out, try to find something else, blah blah whatever." But more importantly, for her client, they actually cut their commission to make up the difference of it.
Yeah.
And for me, it wasn't worth going through the process to try
No.
and take her through. But anyway, in the trenches, so we're Shamrock is done. This is a property that we resto modded,
Yes.
and it's on the market. And we've been getting lots of showings, particularly in the past week. And I get a text message from one of the agents that goes through, and I don't know what he did to the garage door, but
It was sideways.
he texts me and says the garage door's a little bit open. It won't close. So I'm like, okay, Luca, I'm going to show you this picture. Tell me if this looks a little close to you. But so I had to go to East 44 for something. I can't remember what it was, but so we have properties all kind of within a stone throw of each other.
Yeah.
So I go. Tell me if that looks like it's just a little open.
love
It's
it.
a little open and on its fucking side. It's like,
Oh yeah. I'll post the pictures so
We'll post
everyone
the
can see.
pictures.
Yeah.
right? So I'm like, I'm in there like, and actually, so it's my daughter's birthday, and
My daughter's birthday.
right
Oh,
the
wow.
same day.
I'm pumping my pool out, and Dan calls me. While Dan called me like 30 seconds after I went to put my pump in the pool, and the fucking hose came off, and then the pump turned on, and it sprayed me.
So he's in a
So
good
I was
mood.
already in a good mood,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a great mood.
One of those days.
And Dan's like,
Great news.
he's like, hey bud, did you see the picture I sent you? I'm like, dude, I said, I'm having a fucking horrible day. My phone's in my back pocket. What happened? He goes, well, the garage door's fucked up at Shamrock. Take a look at the picture. So I unplug the pump, look at the picture, and I tell him, I said, I'm right in the middle of this. I said, I'll be up there in 30 minutes. That's the best I can do. So I used to work for Larco overhead cranes, but we used to take care of overhead doors as
Yeah.
well. And a lot of customers had like a commercial industrial version of but a standard door. So I knew how to work on the shafts, the springs, the cables, and whatever. I go up there and I look at this shit. The cable's wrapped around the spring. It's wrapped around like
It's completely fucked.
one of the bolts. And I'm like, Dan, I don't have the tools for this anymore. I said, I could try. but
Why
I
is that? Because
might-
half of them are holding the bed up.
Yeah, half of them are holding the
We
bed
have
up,
all
yeah.
these toolboxes, and our stager forgot like the box spring or something like that. So we put all of the boxes under the bed, so that it's
Yeah.
all holding.
Nice.
But I didn't even have like the safety tools to lock the bar,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So whatever, I start he leaves
It's
with
thinking
his
on the
drink.
fly. What do you do? I'm standing there, and there's 3 showings
Yeah.
while I'm standing there.
So-
Hey guys, how's it going? Don't worry about the garage door. It works fine.
Even on my way to Shamrock, I started calling garage door companies.
Yeah.
So I finally found one that picked up the phone. And this absolute sweetheart named Emilio came and fixed the door. Like, now I have Emilio's phone number, so I can call him direct. But he had everything, right? And then he got everything done. And then the one real estate agent showed up. And she was like, what's wrong with the door? And I'm like, I'm just getting it fixed. The service guy's here. There's nothing wrong with it. And she's like, wow, how'd you get a hold of someone so quick? I'm like, I'm a trades guy. I know somebody somewhere,
Yep.
right? But at the end of the day, it was fixed. But even Emilio, he checked the door. He checked the spring. There was nothing wrong with the door. So me and him don't understand how this real estate agent and his client screwed this fucking door up.
Wow.
Have no idea. And I'll probably never know.
No clue, man. But it's fixed. It works great if the purchasing agent's listening.
Yeah, the door's good.
It works fantastic.
Purchasing agents listening, I have Emilio's phone number. Call
Right.
me. I'll
Yeah,
give it to you.
no problem. So that's maybe I just realized we don't have an outro for this segment. Maybe just play the gunshot.
Well, what about you got anything?
Yeah, no, the outro, an outro for the segment. I mean.
Oh, okay.
Right? Just play the gunshot.
Yeah, there
it
we
is.
go.
That's in the trenches.
In the trenches. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Luca, there's so many things that I could get into with you. I could stay here for we could do a full Rogan-style podcast and stay here for 4 hours, but I don't want to do that because I want to bring you back and talk about some of your investments and all that kind of stuff, and we can talk about mindset and, but I think we covered a lot today. But for anybody that's listening, where can they find you on social media? Where can they contact PCM?
Yeah, so PCMnow.com, and that'll pretty much direct you to all our social media.
Yeah.
We have really good YouTube videos that we put out regularly on every project.
Yeah.
So lots of construction videos, lots of videos on the finished product. So you can just look up PCM in YouTube, and we're on Instagram as well, PCM Now Oakville.
Yeah.
Okay.
These projects are really impressive. I mean, you got to check them out. It's something else.
Yeah,
So,
we really, these homes, they're a passion for us.
Yeah.
So we put everything into them,
Mm-hmm.
and I love to show them after.
And it's not just the homes themselves; it's the experience
Yes.
too, right? And actually, just before we go, maybe you can explain. You were telling us earlier about when picking out some of the finishes going down to Kohler. What's the experience that people can expect when they're working with PCM?
So that I really want the home building experience for our client to be something they're going to remember forever.
Mm-hmm.
And I want them to be our friends after the build. I want to be invited to the housewarming party.
Yeah.
That's just, and I want, when I have to go there to do service for the home in the next 5 years, they're going to be smiling when they see me.
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to achieve from the beginning. So part of it is, obviously the simple things like sticking to a budget and all that, but it's also, in the very beginning, we have a relationship with Kohler, which is a premier plumbing fixture
They
manufacturer.
make the best toilets in the world.
Absolutely.
I have only Kohler stuff in here.
Kohler's the gold standard.
Yeah.
So we have a great relationship with Kohler. We actually, when we get a new client, Kohler will arrange a private jet, pick us up at about 6 a.m. at Pearson.
Mm-hmm.
We fly down to Wisconsin, to Kohler City,
Yeah.
right at their factory showroom. It's a massive complex with every single product line that they offer. We'll bring the clients, typically the interior designer, sometimes the architect, our sales rep from our plumbing wholesaler,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll go down, and in one 3-4 hour period, they'll pick every plumbing fixture in the house.
Oh, nice.
So it's great. They get to see everything. If they want to see a factory tour, there's that option as well.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, it's a busy day. We don't always get the factory tour in,
Yeah.
but it's a great experience. Our client, we go for lunch at Whistling Straits for anybody that golfs. Like, they have probably 3 or 4 of world championship golf courses in Kohler.
Mm-hmm.
So we're always have a lunch or dinner at one of those places, and then by 6-7 o'clock in the evening, we're back in Toronto, landed, and we'll do stuff like that for.
That's pretty cool.
We have clients that they own property around the world. Sometimes you need to have face-to-face meetings with them. We'll get a few of our trades together, or the interior designer, the architect, and we'll fly out to them We've chartered private jets to do that too.
Oh, really?
We have a really good relationship with Mercedes-Benz Oakville and Mercedes-Benz Canada. So we do events at Canadian Tire Speedway, and also we've done the Mercedes ice driving in Gimli, Manitoba. So these are just little things we do for our clients. It's part of the experience, and we hope that our clients just always view our company as just like something great that happened in their life, because the home is, the home is so important to everybody. It's these clients, it's their dream home. They're spending a lot of money on it. I don't want them to have a negative experience with me or with the company.
I love it.
I mean, like when you go above and beyond like that for someone, your best thank you is a word of mouth reference, right?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I don't know. They could have someone else over that's looking to build a custom home, and who did this? Who did that? You know what? Go call Luca from PCM.
Yeah, all our clients come that way.
That's
like the vast. It's very rare. We do spend a lot of money on marketing and branding.
Yeah,
but our clients
Right.
come to us typically from word of mouth,
That's
and
awesome.
it's little things that we do. I'll give you a quick example. We had a window that had the argon gas that failed in a house, and it actually blew out.
Oh,
okay.
It blew out. Glass was in the yard.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
I've never heard of that.
the homeowner,
happening before.
it's a very rare thing that happens.
Mm-hmm.
This is a 15,000 square foot estate home for like one of the absolute greatest people, great client. So they call us. They always call us first, right? Even though it's a window problem, they call us.
Yep.
I'm not going to tell who the manufacturer is, but they were basically like, "Oh, our warranty's over. We can't cover that." We're like,
Sounds
"Okay,
like
how much?"
Pollard to me.
We're like, "How much does the glass?
From my experience.
how much does the glass cost?" Right?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll put a quote. Okay, to repair it, labor and materials, $350. I'm sitting there going, "You're saying no to this customer
Yeah.
on this house
Yes.
that probably spent $400,000 or $500,000 on windows."
Isn't that
You're
nuts?
so I said, "Send me the bill right now and get over here and fix it." And they did. And in typical PCM fashion, we made a beautiful YouTube video
Yeah.
on how we take care of that.
Yep.
And you can go see it. My partner Carlos did a video when they did the repair, and just how could you not cover a $350 item? I'll cover that all day long for my client.
Yeah.
It's not even about the money at that point. It's
Right.
the
Oh.
aggravate. So
Right.
that's the type of stuff that we do.
I love
Yeah.
it.
I can tell you 100 stories of stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's great. I think that's a good note to go out on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
PCM.
PCMnow.com and look up Luca Filice on social media, Instagram.
Yeah,
You're
thank you.
posting stuff all the
Thanks
time.
for having me.
Absolutely. It was great, and I'd love to have you
fun.
back. I mean, there's so much more that we can talk about. So
Love to come back.
I can't wait to have you back. I got
Absolutely.
more questions now.
Absolutely.
I'm more prepared just listening to them.
Yeah.
So until next time, my name is Dan Carroll, for producer Greg, Steve Kopac, and our amazing guest Luca Filice, urging you to take a chance, make that leap, seek discomfort, and work like hell.
For more information on investing in real estate, visit battlefieldrei.com and follow us on Instagram at BattlefieldREI Inc. and at Renovating Hamilton. Music for the show provided by JosephMcDade.com and voiceover by Mike Dawson.